Okay, hello and welcome. So, a while back, I was asked to give a few of my thoughts on the standards of women. Uh, just general romantic partner standard when it comes to like sexual standards and who women tend to fuck and why. And dating standards, like going on dates and stuff, a bit more than just casual. And then also like partner standards, like life partner standard, like marriage, husband, material and trying to find that. And then also, like most important, I think there are really good arguments to be made. That's at the top of the list: reproductive standards, procreative standards. If you're gonna have a child, I think that area is. You should have the highest of standards as you possibly can get away with if you're gonna have a child with a person, and I strongly feel that way. I don't know if that's like a rare position to hold, but and of course when it comes to sexual standards and reproductive standards, clearly there's a lot of overlap. There's a lot of it's very related, like who women fuck and who women create people with. They're intertwined, like they're closely connected. Because a lot of people, when it comes to having children, that is the catalyst. It's the fucking, and that's really like it's really not that much more than that, oftentimes. But if it is to be a deliberate thing, if you are to have children eventually for whatever reason, and it's like a conscious thing that you decide to do, you should have as high of standards as you possibly can. And I mean, same thing with sexual standards. Like if you recognize that if you are to get pregnant, and you were to carry it to term, like who you fuck, if that's in the cards, matters so much. Like if you're gonna have standards, that's the area in which you should have them. And I wanted to keep this video relatively brief, just a few thoughts, because I see very commonly, especially nowadays, many dudes claim that women have just ridiculously high standards. Like expectations are becoming more and more outlandishly overblown. Like it's not realistic in the slightest. Like expectations that will never be fulfilled when it comes to romantic standards and life partner standards and the difficulties of marriage, the difficulties of raising a child or children with someone, and just all the consequences of that and what's to eventually come of that. Like, many people in general think that their sexual attraction that they feel for their partner is not to be negatively impacted by creating a person with them or people. And that is often not the case. It's very common for it to very steeply decline after you have a child or children with someone, for that to happen. And I feel that's worth talking more about and considering more. And just in general, I wanted to focus on women's standards, but I guess just generally when it comes to standards, when it comes to long-term life partner, reproductive partner standards, I think more people should have higher ones, and they should do what they can to try to make it to where they can get away with having higher standards, to where it isn't all that unrealistic to have them, to where like people won't just brush you off as being delusional and ridiculous for claiming that you have actual standards for who you want to marry. Because if you have like really high standards, but then you have no reason to have high standards, that's preposterous. We should all work on that, because we want like the best we can get when it comes to like partners, but we need to put in the effort to try to make it to where we are the best that the other person can, the best we can be, so that then we'll be what they, I'm a little flustered because this is a touchy topic, clearly. I mean, when it comes to, because that is crucial. Who you have children with, if you're going to end up doing that, that's the future. That's like people, fully developed people, adult people. And many adult people are miserable with their lives in ways that are not easily remedied. I mean, and the qualities of life are, and many people don't even consider that sorts of shit when it comes to who they have children with. And that's a negative thing. We're at the 5-minute mark, around there. And I believe that that's really bad. I feel like people should have standards when it comes to who they have children with. And I guess that's it. Those are my thoughts on having standards, because many people don't have them. And if we're on the real, if I was to get serious for a moment, a lot of it has to do with childhood and their own. It's this cycle. It's this cycle of feeling as though they are not deserving of having someone that truly values them for reasons that are real, like genuine. When it comes to choosing a life partner, when it comes to choosing a reproductive partner, when it comes to choosing sperm donors, because many women choose just terrible sperm donors, terrible providers. And a lot of it has to do with their own, not to, as a sort of cop-out, but it is true. It's absolutely true. There's a strong correlation there when it comes to childhood and how people are treated at that crucial time in their lives, and then the ways in which they eventually go on to conduct themselves in the world with who they have children with, and who they fuck and how they fuck them. And that's why I feel very fatalistic about it, because this is just very deeply ingrained. It's innate in what we are, and that cycle is a very difficult one to break. For many, if you're a deterministic sort of, if you have a more deterministic outlook on human life, then it's impossible to break. It's just, it isn't even in the cards at all. For many people, that's just what they're destined to do. They're destined to have children with a person that they're going to strongly regret having done that with, and they're going to fuck their children up severely, and then they're going to go on to fuck their own children up severely, and that's just how it happens. And then the people who are doing that, the less respect you have for what it means to have a child, the more likely you're going to be to have more children, etc., etc. Those are my thoughts on the standards of women and of people. People should have higher ones for themselves. And people, especially if you're going to have a child with someone and you're going to raise a person with a person, that's everything. It's not everything, but it's a really big part of what makes individuals who they are, how they were treated at the most crucial time in their lives, childhood. That developmental process is just incomprehensibly crucial. And people are so quick to just fuck their children up without even the faintest of thought, without just a briefest of considerations. It's something that people don't really think very much about. And the people who think the least about what it means to have children, they're going to create far more of the children, and that's not something that's going in a direction that is very good. And goodbye. And always, as always, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below about the standards of people. And do you believe that people should have higher standards about who they're creating people with? I do. I believe it. I believe it strongly. If you're gonna do that, if you're gonna create people, you should have some fucking standards. And so many facets, so many areas in which you should have them. Not just the superficial stuff, not just the short-term stuff, but like long-term stuff. That's how I feel. All right, goodbye.